It's me again, and it is time for another podcast. Hope everyone's doing all right. Hope everyone's week has been okay. I have been majorly looking forward to the weekend. It's it, waited for it for so long. So I'm so happy that it's here now. I got to do another podcast this week, which was very interesting. If no one caught that, that is on here on Podbean. It is also on YouTube as well and on Spotify. On YouTube, it isn't a video. It's just the audio on there. But if you want to go on there and check it out, you can. Yeah, so that was quite interesting. Kind of good, really, because it kind of breaks the week up a little bit, and I can talk about other stuff and other bits of football that I don't normally talk about on here. So yeah, that was quite interesting. So if you want to check that out, obviously, if you're following me on here, it'll be on here. So have a look at that. Tonight, my guest will be Darren Cook. Darren Cook is the chairman of Ufford. We were supposed to have Dean on as well, who's the first team manager, but unfortunately he wasn't able to join us tonight. So hopefully we might be able to get him on another time so we can have a chat with him, which would be good. So yeah, we've got Darren coming on tonight. Going to have a chat with him about Ufford. We're going to have a chat about the SIL. Also going to have a chat about something else he does in his spare time. But I'll let Darren explain that one when he comes on. Yeah, just basically we'll go through quick things that we normally do. Obviously, the last few weeks we've been doing the free advertisement for businesses. Basically what I'm doing is just helping out some local businesses, giving the opportunity to have a free bit of advertising. It may be only a little bit for them, but anything I can do to help, I will do. So what I do is I offer a month's worth of advertising. So I'll mention them on Twitter, Facebook, also on the YouTube channel. I don't know if anyone watched the last video of the YouTube channel. I was able to have the companies up on there, and also I have it in the description as well, so you're able to go and have a look for yourself as well. So the companies again are JW94, and they are a company that are producing anti-slip socks. A branded new sports sock company established in 2021, branded sports and anti-slip grip socks for a fraction of the price. I know they're looking to do other stuff on there as well, but once they've got that sorted, I'm sure they'll be able to let me know, and I'll be able to let yourselves know as well. They've got quite a few ambassadors as well. They've got Dean Gherkin as an ambassador. Also, you've got Tom Hughes, Ipswich Town, and also Natasha Thomas, who plays with Ipswich Town Women as well. They've all signed up to be ambassadors there. So yeah, that's looking pretty good there for JW94. Hope that keeps going. The next one is Psychic for Sports. Psychic for Sports formed in 2020. Patent pending sports innovation, sports apparel and accessories. Your aim is our aim. If there's any information that you require, have a look on their Twitter. If not, get in contact with Stu at psychicforsports.co.uk. If you go and have a look on their Twitter account, starting to do some good stuff for the darts. I'm quite into my darts. It's a sport that I can actually play. It's a sport that I'm I'm probably built for, to be honest. So yeah, if you want to pop over there, obviously they do some really good stuff, apparel stuff and stuff like that. I know they've done some stuff for the Suffolk Non-League show. So you can actually have a look if you watch some of the episodes of Suffolk Non-League show. You'll see some of their stuff that they do on there. I'll pop the link for the Suffolk Long-League show in there. Also check their videos out. They're doing Adam and James over there are doing really, really well. I done a really good show last week with Dean Cooper, so go and check that out. And also the little vlogs that they do during the week. It's kind of good because once again, that's how it breaks up the week. Have a look in there. The next one is Education Through Sports. Education Through Sports. Our mission is at Education Through Sports is to create and enhance an atmosphere and an environment that maximizes student participation, nurtures the development of life skills. Sorry, I just had to sort something out there. So maximize student participation, nurtures the development of life skills, values through sports, improvement, participations, sports skills, knowledge. So that is Education Through Sports. If you check though their Facebook has all the information there. It has some videos on there as well to check out. Hi Darren, I can see that you're in there at the moment. I have muted you at the moment. And what we'll do is I'll bring you on as soon as I can get to you. I'll just do these bits first and I'll be with you. Just wanted to let you know so you didn't think I've just cut you off or anything. The last one I think a lot of people do know is Matchday Marketing. Obviously, Matchday Marketing do amazing stuff with goal gifts, websites, basically getting everything out there on social media. Social media at the moment, I think it's still a massive, massive thing. This is the reason why I use Twitter, I use TikTok, I use Snapchat, everything I can for this show as well. So with these, they do honestly. Some of the, you go on, you have a look at their gifts. Some of them are really, really funny. Obviously, the Matt Blake one, I think, is probably one of the most talked about ones around at the moment. So go over and check them out. As I say, they do match promos, in-game graphics, goal gifts, other services as well. They do monthly fixture lists, team lineups, club badge designs as well, social media headers and kit designs. So yeah, go and check them out. As I say, I'll put everything in the link in the description when I do the YouTube video. I'll put everything in there so everyone can go on and have a look and check those companies out. One for myself is just to let people know that I have set up a Ko-fi account. The reason why I've set up a Ko-fi account is I'm looking to push the podcast a bit further. I'm looking to do things which are a little bit out of the box, if you know what I mean. So some of that stuff does cost money. So I'm just asking for a little bit of help, not much. It could be £1, £2, 50p, whatever. As I say, every little helps. It's just to keep it going so I can make it better for yourselves and make it more of an enjoyable listening. I'm trying to do other stuff as well. So if you like to go and check that out, I'll put the link in the description again. Obviously, the other thing I wanted to mention as well, I'm going to start mentioning like a couple of either YouTube or streaming channels and stuff like that people can go and watch. Just to kind of keep people's mind so they don't think that football's gone completely. I've been watching this week Tattenstone's YouTube channel. Tattenstone's YouTube channel is really, really good. The way that they've done it and the way they've done the episodes and stuff like that. So I'll put their link in the description as well. Go on and check them out as well. What they're doing there is really, really good. I used to play for Tattenstone many, many moons ago. I think like the kit was a different color. I think it was black and white at that point. So obviously it's nice to see that Tattenstone are moving themselves up, and they've got a very good side there as well. So it's a very, very good watch. Go and have a watch of them. Right, so that is kind of that done. And now it's time to bring on my guest, which is Mr. Darren Cook from Ufford. How are you doing, Darren? You okay? You been keeping busy through lockdown?
Work. That's all it is. Crazy, absolutely crazy.
That's good. As long as you're keeping busy and it's not kind of sitting there twiddling your thumbs and not being able to do anything.
Now, unfortunately, as a road worker, we're keyed as essential, so that's taken up haven't had any time off since March last year due to the COVID. So just working through, and then with the football club just keeps me busy. So busy.
Yeah. So good. We can start there. If you want to tell us a little bit about what your kind of role is at Ufford. Obviously, you're chairman there. Just kind of your role and how long you've been there for, and kind of that really.
I started playing for Ufford. I think we had black and white TVs back then. It's around about 1993 when I left school. The first club that I played for. Stayed with them for about 10 years. Then moved away. Then went back to Ufford. Went down there, just done all the odd jobs, pitch marking, helping out where I could. And then it's run by a group of blokes who or people who I went to school with. Started running it more and more. Shemmons, who's quite well known around the area.
Yeah,
he took over as manager when I was refereeing in the SIL. And then when he left, they asked me to go back as manager about 6 years ago. My daughter was born, and so I took over from Shem as manager. Managed to keep the core of players together. And then had enough of the managing side of things. Got Kev Hadley in. To take over from myself and Andy Thompson, and he took over. Kev's now at Leighton St Margaret's Reserves. So we kept the process going, and then I took over as chairman 2 years ago. It's been a challenge. We folded our reserves last season.
I noticed that because I think I played when I was managing Ransom's reserves. I think we come and played your reserves. I think it was like the first game of the season. And it wasn't good for us. We got absolutely spanked. I'd literally just started managing and got absolutely spanked. And it was weird because you had a very decent reserve side. So it was quite weird when I saw that the club had folded the reserves. I was a bit shocked, to be honest.
Well, it was one of them seasons where we signed a lot of players, but we signed a lot of players from the army base at Woodbridge, RAF Woodbridge. And obviously they can't make it 1 week. So 1 week you'd have a team full of superstars, and next week you'd have a team full of not very big stars. And it was hard to keep a balanced side. And the reserve team manager at the time, Tom German, he was workload, rest load, and he was trying to get it all sorted. And it's hard to do on your own. And some people come forward, but then they disappear. And but I think the player commitment at the end of it, we had several meetings through December saying, do we keep the reserves going? Do we fold them? And I think it got to January of last season, and we just went, do you know what? This ain't going to keep going. So the reserves went, and then we struggled with 50 players signed on. We were struggling to put a first team out.
Yeah.
And then Kev's workload at Highway Assurance got more and more and more. So he was finding it harder to juggle the both as well. And to be fair, when COVID hit, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because it gave everyone a chance to sit down and reassess what's going on. Kev decided to leave. I decided to stay on as chairman. And then we advertised for the manager. And Dean came forward. And if you know Dean personally, you know he's full of beans and football.
Yeah.
And he literally, it's a shame he's not on. I've told him this. He literally saved Ufford Football Club from going out of business, which would be a shame because they've been going since 1956. It's one of the more established clubs in the SIL. But he was there, and he brought in a host of players from various clubs. And he's literally, if you could put a halo around his head for what he's done for Ufford Football Club, then I would do. But
I've said it. I've said it from the start. Obviously, I know Dean personally. We've played on the same side. I've managed Dean. I've managed against Dean. I took over from Dean because he was at Handy Reserves last season, and I took over him at the beginning of the season. So I know Dean quite well. I know he's very, very passionate about his football. And I spoke on the Suffolk Non-League show. We done a review halfway through the season. And I spoke very, very highly of Dean then because it's tough, especially I've got into personally myself into managing struggling clubs, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. Yeah. It's difficult not only to keep the morale going and keeping that team going, it's also difficult to try and entice players there if they're struggling. But then for what Dean's done, and I will bring it. So I'll bring it up in a minute and talk about it. But the results then started coming in. I think he struggled a little bit at the start of the season.
Yeah, but it's like everything. We had a squad last 2019, 2020 season, and we had a squad of good players. Some players who played senior football came and played for Kev because they knew Kev. And then when Kev decided to go, these like a lot of players, they go with a manager to wherever he goes.
Yeah.
And so when Dean came in, I think we had a squad of about 7 players. And he came in and he signed 30 players.
Yeah.
And they didn't come to Ufford Football Club because of Ufford's great history. They came to Ufford Football Club because of Dean.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes for the fella. And so we basically started with a brand new team. Obviously the players knew Dean, but they didn't know each other, and they didn't know how they wanted to play. And so once they brought into Dean's ideas, it was a lot easier. We had a mixed pre-season. We beat Leyton St Margaret's first team, which was a great result, and then we'd lose to a team who you'd expect us to beat.
Yeah.
And then we beat Coddenham, which again was a good result, and then we'd lose the next game. So it was on up and down. And the first 3 league games of the season, I think it was more, let's not upset Dean and just try and play safe. And because we were trying to play safe, the results went against us. So we lost the first 3 games, and then since then we haven't lost any. So it's like, that's why we sit top of the table. All right, we've played 10 games, which is probably 3 or 4 more than the other teams, but we still won them games, or we still didn't lose them games to get to where we are.
You still got to put yourself there, and this is the thing. It's, as I say, I've found it difficult. So when you go to a new club, it doesn't matter if you could be the best manager in the world. You could be one of the most well-established managers throughout, and you could bring loads of players in and stuff as well. But you've got to get those players that either have been there before or you bring along to buy into your method and mentality of how you want to run that side. And it will take a couple of games because players won't be used to either playing that way or may not have even played that way before. I think it's been a very good fit for Dean because I know when he was at Henley Reserves, he had very good players there, but it just kind of it weren't clicking sometimes. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was you've got one, as you said, you've got that pool of good players, but you could have a best 11, but they may not be able to play together.
Yeah,
Do you
and
know
that's
what I
the
mean?
joys of reserve team football as well for Dean at Henley. He had, all the good players there, but then he could have the first team manager say, "Oh, what take so and so this week?"
Yeah,
and you can have so and so because he hasn't played for me for 3 weeks, and so and so who hasn't played for 3 weeks might not be that interested because he's only playing for the reserves.
Yeah,
and that's the problem in reserve team football. I mean, we're hoping to get a reserve team up again next season. That's in the pipeline, and I know that we can get the players. And I know that we've got a manager in place who is associated with Ufford already for the reserves. So we know that we can get these things in place. We just need to get them going. And if we get the reserves going, then we're going to try and run it as one club and not reserve team, first team. Both teams, you're playing for Ufford Football Club, not first and reserves. So that there's no, I'm playing for the reserves. Or, it's you're good enough to play for Ufford Football Club. You're good enough to play for either team. That's what we want.
Yeah,
it's not going to work out that way. But that's what we want.
it's easy because I've spoken to several people about it because, as I say, the last say 2-3 seasons I've been managing reserve sides, and as a reserve manager, it's not frustrating. But when you don't have that pool of players underneath you, if a player then goes up to the first team and you've not got someone to replace them, that's when it can be quite frustrating. So where Dean's had that frustration already, he'll kind of understand it when running the first team. Do you know what I mean? And then it expects his players to turn around and go, look, okay, you might not be with us this week, you might be playing with the reserves, but things will change. It's trying to explain to players, and it's so difficult because I think some players still think, oh, if you get put down to the reserves, that's it's a bit of a kick in the teeth. But I don't think it is now. I don't think it is in the SIL. I still rate a lot of these reserve sides.
Yeah, a lot of them are very good. I mean, when you think that some of the reserves and A teams that are in the SIL, from you've got Needham, you've got Stowmarket, have got a team in there, Framlingham have got a team in there. You'd think that these are teams that are their first teams are playing furlough none and above. So you're expecting a good set of players to come through. It might be you might have Stowmarket A team might have a bunch of 18-year-olds go. But you'd expect them to be a good standard of 18-year-old because their ideal goal should be to play for their first team.
Yeah,
and that's what you should be aiming for. You shouldn't be happy to play for your reserve team. And if you get dropped from the first team down to the reserves or the A team, then you should give 110% to make sure that you're back in that first team next week.
Yeah.
That's the way. I mean, I was never good enough to play that many first team games, but I always strive to get there. And if I was ever called upon by the then manager back when I was there, Kevin Welton, I used to go along, and if I spent 85 minutes on the bench, I'd be happy just to be involved. But that's
it's
how
trying to explain to a lot of the younger players now that being in a reserve side, being in an A side is not a bad thing. It's giving younger players the experience of going from under 18s football into men's football, because it is a big step. I don't care what anyone says. You could be the best 16-year-old ever, but when you come up against someone on a cold Saturday afternoon that's probably 10 times as big as you are, and they hit you with a hard crunching tackle, don't matter how good you are, it's going to hurt you.
oh yeah.
So
I've tried to get a few 16-year-olds, but I've never been quick enough. So,
See, but that's what you do. You try and catch them and you can't, so you kick them instead.
That's it. Yeah.
It becomes the easiest way. I played in goal, so if I had a player that used to think that they were kind of good and stuff like that, I just used to wait until they used to come up for a corner and just go through them. It's and that is what happens. But it's then down to the managers and the coaches to then turn around and say, look, that's going to happen. It's going to happen in this game. You pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you get on with it. That's football. If you want to play football and you want to progress in football, that's what it's going to be like. You know, I do believe, I think a lot of the refs and stuff like that do kind of protect the younger generation. You know, they get kicked a little bit, they'll blow up for a foul straight away, where it's not really going to happen that much in senior football.
No, but, you got to go take the rough of the smooth. Some of them can't take the rough, so
yeah, roll about for a couple of times and then moan at the ref for a little bit, and they still won't change their mind.
No,
you know, if you've as you mentioned earlier, you refed yourself. I still to this day find it amazing how people will stand up and still argue a decision, and I do it myself, and I don't know why.
Well, I find myself, I keep going in a circle. There's a local referee from Woodbridge Melton area, Mark Potkins, and he used to book me before the games to save time and effort. And when I became a referee, he was like, "Oh, it's poacher become gamekeeper now, is it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you know, before I give it a go." I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed it. There was a lot of things that went on behind the scenes that made me give up becoming a referee. One of the main ones was I wanted to spend more time at Ufford. You know, when things were going wrong last year, I pulled my boots back on again. To try and help the reserves out. Played in goal for a game, I think, against Old Newton reserves at Old Newton. That was a bit embarrassing.
Cool.
And then I played another game. I played another one against Howsworth reserves where I actually played up front first half, scored a weldy, and then pulled my hammy, and then they go and goal second half. Got man of the match. So I was happy, you know. But that was it. That was all I could do. And now I walk up the stairs and my body makes all sorts of noises as I'm going everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but,
exactly the same. You know, exactly the same. This is the reason why
I shouldn't. Last year I was 40, 43, 42, and I shouldn't have been pulling my boots on to help out a team on a Saturday afternoon to play football.
No, but
there should have been enough young players about.
I will always turn around and say it. This is where football is something completely different. It's once you've bitten by the bug of football, it's hard to get rid of. It's an addiction, you know, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people are kind of struggling at the moment, because, you know, when you're addicted to something like that, it's hard not to want to do it. And I'm hoping it doesn't go too far where it gets to that point where you've gone cold turkey so long you don't want to do it anymore. And I hope it isn't like that, and it stops players and stops managers and stuff like that, because I still think even at this level, you've got so much excitement.
I mean, we're lucky with Dean. He always, you know, every couple of weeks we have, like, every club has got a WhatsApp group with their team in it, and every couple of weeks Dean puts a post in there just geeing the boys up, making sure they're all right. And, you know, anyone missing football, and then you get the odd one going, "Yeah, I am, can't wait to get back." And so, you know, I think that at Ufford we got that core of players. We've got a core of 20 players out of the 30 that was signed that turn up every week, whether they're playing or not. They'll turn up, come and watch. And these are the lads that, you know, are hopefully be at Ufford for the next couple of years, and they're playing really well as a team, and they all want to play for each other, and they still want to play even now. They want to get off their butts, stop playing FIFA on a Saturday afternoon and actually play football, you know, and that's what we want, you know, and we can't ask for much more than that at Ufford.
No, that's good.
We ask for commitment. I mean, me and Dean have put in all sorts of hours. I mean, in pre-season as well, we had Beardo. Do you know? I don't know if you know Beardo. We had Beardo was helping Dean out all through pre-season, and the amount of hours they put into the club, painting the dressing room, sorting out all the others, you know, and it's all stuff they do off their own backs, you know, and all stuff I do off my backs. No one gains from this apart from getting people to play football on a Saturday afternoon, and that's what you want. That's all anyone wants, I really think.
Yeah, and it's good as well, because, you know, I've been to your ground twice. It was either once or twice, but I really like it, because it's unique. Because obviously you come in, and then when you look to the pitch at the left hand side, you've got the mound. which is like a little stand, which I think is great because people can like stand and sit up there and stuff like that. And
it's the Ufford Bowl.
Yeah, it's and when you get a manager that comes in and wants to put that time and effort in, it must be a relief, because then you can sit there and think, do you know what? I haven't kind of got to worry about this, because the managers come in and instead of just turn around and going, all right, I'll turn up on Saturday and put a team out, and if we win, we win. Great.
Yeah.
You've got a manager that's putting his heart and soul into the club, physically putting his heart and soul into the club.
He is, and he's told me many times that he loves Ufford and he wants to be here for a long time. You know, if a senior club comes in and says, Dean, we want you to manage our team, is he going to stay? I don't know. You know, he wants to manage at the highest level and he wants to take Ufford to that level.
Yeah.
But would he be tempted to go if someone, I don't know, like let's say Cranes, for example, one of the bigger clubs in the SIL, turned around and said, come and give us a go, Dean. We like your style and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know, because Dean is, as I say, Dean is a very loyal person.
I'm pretty sure I could keep him with a pack of Smarties in that.
I managed to keep him. I managed to keep him for a season that we were getting absolutely trounced each week. So if he managed to stay when that was happening, you know. But this is the other thing you do. So from a manager's point of view, because you could jump too quickly. You know, I'm not being funny. You could end up, right, Cranes could come in for him. You can go to Cranes, but is he ready for that level? Or would it be good to stay where he is with Ufford and progress Ufford, but then progress as a manager at the same time?
Yeah.
Because I still think it's all kind of stepping stones. It's all gaining that experience. Do you know what I mean?
I would like to, I mean, when Dean came in, he said, in 3 years, we will be pushing for senior football.
Yeah.
And this season, if it hadn't been cut short, which unfortunately I feel it will be null and void at the end of the day, I think we would have been. I'm not. I know it's Ufford. I know it's my club. You know, but we would have been there. You know, I would have said either top or second. I'd like to say top. I did put a bet on with my mate at the start of the season, saying that we'd win it. So obviously I'd like to have won it, but you know, we're not looking to keep Ufford in Division 2. We're looking to move Ufford up, and the players and the respect that he's got from the players there, would he get that respect from players at another club and the club's already established? I don't know if he would, because I say the players have come because of Dean, you know, not because of me and not because of Ufford. They've come because of Dean.
Yeah.
So would the players at another club know what Dean's like? Would they know what his managerial prowess?
Oh, it's always difficult. It's, you know, with going to different clubs and stuff. So I've gone 2 different clubs since I'd done IVR, and I weren't well known anyway when I started IVR, and then obviously went on to Ransoms, and probably the 2 best seasons that I've had. Then obviously left Ransoms and went to Henley. And it no disrespect to Henley, but it felt different. It felt different at Henley. Now, I think a lot of it is down to what's gone on, because where I went there with the same mentality as what I had when I was at Ransoms.
Yeah.
When I went there, I was expecting it to kind of be the same, but with everything that's gone on, I haven't been able to do that, if you know what I mean. So I think,
I know we took Tadas. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Do you know what? This is the thing, right? I always do. It's the same as when I went over to Henley. I took players with me.
Yeah.
You know, and you will have your players that will play for a manager. You have it all over the place. You have it in the senior league. If it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of managers, if they left the clubs and went to another club with theirs, they take players with them as well.
You know,
we
saw that happen a few years ago, didn't we? With with Wenniston when the Chenery brothers left Wenniston and they
Well,
went to
it's just,
Houseworth.
you look at IVR the season before I took over. As soon as the managers and that had left, then they all went as well. All the players went as well. So it's going to happen. You can't help it. It's down to the players. But this is where, as a manager or as a coach, this is where your prowess does come out. If you're able to go to a different club and you're able to manage them, coach them into a winning side, then that shows the quality that you have. So I don't really know that many players down here. So I generally, if I'm at a side, it's usually players that are there already that I try and work with. Sometimes it's difficult because they look at you and go, "Who the hell are you?" We don't know you. we and I think that is a struggle with a lot of managers where they have jumped into senior sides. And I've spoken to Dean Cooper about it when he was at Achilles. He kind of struggled a little bit because he thinks that someone from Achilles needs to be at Achilles and manage it, but that's what that type of club is. Where I think a lot of clubs like yourself, I think is, yes, okay, we are offered and we like our own, but if you're going to come in and want to help this club and want to help progress this club, do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We've got one player from the village signed on at the minute. And he hasn't played, not because he's not good enough to play, but because he's had his first child. So he said, I'm going to take time off and, be with my child. We did have a couple of players a few years ago, but they moved out of the village, so they're no longer with us. But yeah, so it's hard to get because it's such a small village, and plus we've got Wickham Market right on our doorstep. Wickham Market are a brilliantly run club, well organised, good manager in Tom Baker. Dan Hiscock is his assistant. He was at Ufford a few years ago with Shem when he was cutting his teeth. Absolutely brilliant assistant manager, and they know players, and they've got they've got a really good setup there. And that they're another team who are going to be annoyed that this season has been cut short because they would have won that league. They would have not won it. They would have trounced it, absolutely trounced it. I mean, they had Tattenstone, who would give them a good run for their money, but Wickham would have won that league without a doubt. Division 1. So all the young players, because Wickham have got the youth set up as well, go through the youth set up and then go to Wickham, and then some of them who are in the Wickham team then disappear to Fram, which again is a higher club than Ufford. So we've got a lot of competition. We thought it'd be a godsend St Audrey's folding when they did a few years ago, but that didn't really benefit us. And now you've got Melton United up and running. So three villages in a row, you've got three clubs that are all decent.
And this is the thing. This is the trouble we have. But I also think it's a bit of a. Sometimes it was quite of a blessing, really, because I've always found it because I've always been in Ipswich-based teams. When we come and play village-based teams, it's a hell of a struggle. It's always quite difficult because obviously you've got like ransoms and. I'm trying to think now. You had IVR at the time, Ipswich Athletic, Bournemouth, because they're all based in Ipswich. All the players you kind of know and they've kind of grown up with and played with. Then when you go to the likes of Old Newton, Ufford, Bennell, when you start going out a little bit, these are teams that you've got to be very careful of because they've probably been playing football together since the age of God knows. Not gone to too many different clubs, and probably got a better bond than most of the Ipswich teams have, to be honest.
I think you're right. A lot of the lads went to school together. I mean, the Wickham team from 10 years ago, I think they were the same team they were 20 years ago because that's how close they all were. And you've got the Bennell boys. I refereed Bennell for years going there because I live Woodbridge, so they're on my doorstep. So that's where I used to get sent a lot. and you'd see the same faces week in, week out, year in, year out. And then these lads get to the senior division and they bring a couple of players in from a couple of local clubs, and it's working out well for. I mean, they say top of the top. Are they still top of the senior? I think they were, weren't they? When we
just
when we
two
stopped.
seconds. Was that Benall top, Halsworth second, then
Yeah, that's what I
Bilston, then
thought.
Claydon.
So, I mean, I remember 5 years ago, Watford were playing Benall in the league. So that's how it progresses.
It's the same. It's the same as Halsworth as well. They've pushed up the leagues. They've pushed up the leagues quite quickly. Bilderston as well.
Yeah,
they've pushed up the leagues quite quickly, and it is becoming. It is quite difficult because a lot of clubs are becoming. No disrespect to any players out there, are not getting a barrage of abuse when I come off. But there's aging teams, unfortunately, where these teams are maybe in their last season, possibly 2 seasons. You found it with Achilles, with a lot of the older players have got to the point where they can't commit every week, or they've got work commitments or family commitments, or are just not at that level anymore. So a lot of there's going to be a big change around. I can see that there's going to be a big change around with the senior sides. You can see it just looking at the league at the moment.
There's a big shift because for years it was Cranes were up there, and Cranes have struggled this year. I mean, at one point they folded and then came back into the league. So that's how dire times are in the football. I mean, it's COVID. COVID definitely hasn't helped any team whatsoever. But it's so hard to keep I mean, years ago you talk about Ipswich Valley Rangers, IVR. I remember when they were Woodbridge Athletic before they turned, and all the lads that played for Woodbridge Athletic went to school together, 18, 19-year-olds, and they went went through the leagues, and then they stayed at the top. I think Magic was in charge of them when they moved to Woodbridge Base. And then they moved to Ipswich, and then they moved up to Gainsborough, and it just fell apart for them for some reason. I have no idea why. It's crazy. It's just footballing, I suppose.
I think obviously they won the senior division as IVR. And then they got to the Suffolk Senior Cup final against Lakenheath, where they got beaten, and I think they got kind of taught a lesson a little bit in that game. And after that, the management left, all the players left. But IVR as a club, because of the youth section, was still quite well known. It was still classed as a big club, and the management was taken over by David Driver. He used to manage Waterside, when they were about. And I went on as his assistant, and David got a few of the old Waterside boys come in and to play. I had a couple of players that I knew to come in and start playing. And then all the players just turned around and said, "No, we don't do it." I think we had a couple of pre-season friendlies that we didn't win, and was like, no, we don't do it. I want to go elsewhere. And it got to the point where it was too stressful for David to do, because he's trying to find players. And I just got asked, would you mind trying to keep it afloat? And I was like, okay. I'll give it a go. I got some players in, probably some players I shouldn't have had. I say Dean, I got him in there because it was still Division 1 football. I still had that draw, but the problem that I had was where we were playing, because we were playing at Gainsborough. It was a nice pitch. Yes, a lot of work had been done to it, but it's still a football pitch at a sports centre. There's no, this is our club. Do you know what I mean? And there was with the amount of youth that they had, there was no gap, there was no bridge between any of the youth coming into the senior side. It was very much they got to 16 and then went to another club.
Yeah.
As much as I tried, there was just no gap there. It just couldn't do it. Which is what we needed the reserves for, which we didn't have. Or we needed an actual under-18 side, but which we didn't have. So that side of it you can kind of see. And I think sometimes where you made that decision last season to go, right, we're going to get rid of the reserves to save Ufford, which a lot of people will sit there and go, well, it's kind of giving up a little bit. Well, no, it's not. It's making sure that our first team survives, which is what the club originally was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we have.
Yeah, but a lot of clubs do it.
Yeah,
a lot of clubs
and
do
it was horrible to say that there was a core of probably 8 or 9 reserve team players that would be there every week, and it was horrible to say to them that we just can't do this anymore. We missed a couple of games. We had to call a couple of games off, and obviously that was costing the club in fines.
Yeah,
and we just couldn't afford to keep doing it. It's horrible. I don't like it, and that's why I want to get the reserves back up again this year, if possible. I'm in the process of doing it. The application form's on its way to Mary as we speak, so it will be down to the SIL to hopefully let us back in.
Yeah,
we have the facilities. We have we have the change rooms which haven't been used for a year, but we have it all there, all to go. And Ufford wants to be a progressive club.
Yeah.
We want people to come to Ufford and fear the football team, but enjoy the facilities. We've got a lovely park down there for a family afternoon out for those that want to come down and bring their kids. And when the clubhouse is all up and running, as we should say, proper, then there'll be food facilities, drink. The bar will be open, and it will be a nice place to go on a Saturday afternoon, whether to enjoy a first team or reserve team game of football in the SIL.
That's good. That's what we want. That's what we want. And this is what I'm hopefully trying to do with this. Obviously, getting the SIL out there a bit, and hopefully trying to get. Well, I say when it starts up again, I can start getting along 2 games and 2 clubs, and hopefully go to clubs that I haven't been to for a while, or go to clubs I've never been to before, and enjoy football. I love my football, and it's such a shame the last 2 seasons the way it's gone. I decided to give up management myself, and it was quite enjoyable just to pop along to different clubs and stuff like that. So it'd be nice to come back down and watch a game, and not be associated with a club and not come away losing badly.
Yeah. Well, we had one pre-season game, and the sun was out, sun was shining. It was absolutely packed down there.
Yeah.
And there was this gentleman sitting on the side, and I walked up to him. I walked past him, and I thought I recognised him, and it was Luke Wolfenden. He was down there with a couple of his mates, and I said to him, "Do you want to put your boots on for a game?" He said, "No, I'm not allowed." but I'm sure he would have done if he was allowed to. But we get all the superstars down at Ufford. That's all I'm saying. This is
the thing. They're more likely going to go to games like that because they probably think, "Oh, I'm not really going to get recognised that much." So it's. Do you know what? And it will. And this is one thing I will always turn around and say: it doesn't matter what level. You will always see a decent game of football. You might get. I'm not going to say every single game you're going to go to it's going to be exciting or anything like that, but you'll get a decent game of football. It doesn't matter what league you go and watch. Where if you look at a lot of some like the professional leagues, if you go and watch a lower league, it's not going to be a great standard of football. But I still think going down the leagues in the SIL and reserves, there is a good standard of football. People know how to play football. So No.
Yeah, you
Get
will.
along,
You'll get
Salford when everything's sorted and everything like. Get along Salford and watch a game. I will be going down.
Good. You're more than welcome. I'll get you a beer.
Definitely coming down.
Yeah,
Definitely coming down.
And I'll get the dartboard out for you as well as you can.
Mate,
play that game.
Mate, I love a bit of darts. Yeah, I said so. I did mention that. I'm built for darts now. I'm not built for football anymore. I'm built for darts. Possibly rugby if my knees held out, but not built for football anymore. Built talking about it. It's about it. But no, I'm trying to get it where I can actually do like live casts from games. So being able to sit there and watch a game and commentate on it and speak about the game as I'm there instead of doing it later on in the week and probably kind of miss a few bits and stuff like that. So that's kind of my aim. So hopefully I'll be able to get down to one of your games and be able to do that.
Yeah.
Which would be exciting.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about, obviously, we spoke a little bit earlier about it, is something obviously you do away from Ufford, which is that's still associated with the SIL. Do you want to just go through a little bit of what you do there?
Yeah, well, basically, when the season started underway, we had in Rendlesham, where I used to live, they've got a community radio station. They're looking for presenters to do various shows. Well, didn't really know there was many shows out there about the SIL, so I thought I'd do a little bit about SIL and the clubs around East Suffolk. So, obviously you've got from Kesgrave to Woodbridge and all up the East Coast, you've got about 12 clubs, I presume, with some with reserve teams, some without, so about 19 teams around that sort of area. So I decided to do a radio show on Rendlesham Community Radio, which is only available online at the minute.
Right.
And it was about the SIL and the local clubs.
Yeah.
It was going okay. It was going all right. And then obviously the season stopped. So I had nothing to talk about. So now I do a show about anything I want on Rendlesham Community Radio. But I will get back to talking about football when football starts again. So so it's mainly for like the team. Well, it's not mainly for the teams. It does mention all the other teams and results, but I kind of focus on your Leyton, St Margaret's, your Howsworths, your Ruffords, your Wickhams, Bennells. All the teams that are within touching distance of Rendlesham.
Yeah.
So because there's I could focus on a whole lot, but I only get an hour. And it's something I enjoy doing. I was trying to get a couple of people on there before, but I don't think they're really interested in it. And then obviously when I started doing it, I found out that DJam does his non-league show. Now you do this SIL podcast. So there's a lot of stuff about it. So what I'm hoping to do, and as I mentioned to you earlier, is that if football does start up, probably won't be till next season, but I'll get yourself on there and you can push this podcast for you and help each other out and mention football and have a good yarn about football, because when you're trying to do a show by yourself for an hour or 2 hours or however long it is, it's quite hard to keep going. It's quite hard
it is
to have something to talk about. So when you've got something to bounce off, it's a lot easier.
No, I totally agree. It's as I say, it has been quite difficult at the moment with everything that's going on. But as I say, we battle through. I've just started up doing a podcast during the week with one of my friends that I've known for years, and we were just basically talking about general football, because you can if you're not doing something specific. So, but it does become difficult when you are doing something specific and you're solely going on one thing. And I've struggled a little bit myself with thinking of ideas of what to do on Fridays and stuff like that. But I think if I can get someone on to talk about their club each week, hopefully we'll be able to push through and get through it.
I mean, there's a lot of clubs out there, a lot of people that will talk, and it's so easy to get on here and talk to you. I mean, it was like one push of a button and you're muting me. I'm like, brilliant. He doesn't really want to talk to me. But it's that easy to do. And I didn't, and when I sit there in the radio studio and I've got to figure out what I'm going to talk about, what songs can I play?
Yeah.
Do they have to be football orientated songs? How does it all go? And then you think, I could do with someone on here to break this up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. And it's tough, but it's good, and we do it. We don't do it, like you said. I don't do it for money because I don't get paid for it. I do it for fun. I do it because I enjoy it, because I love football. I love local football, and I want to see it thrive. And if the more names get out there, the better. On a bonus, what I will say is, since I've stopped talking about the SIL on my radio show, my ratings have gone up from about 10 listeners to about 200. So there you go. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know whether it was just type of audience I was looking for.
As to say, you do. I think anyone that is doing, as I say, with yourself, with the radio show, obviously with DJ and Adam, with what they do on their show, obviously some of the clubs are coming out with their own YouTube channels and stuff like that, and still keeping things going. It's the best way. It is the best way.
Yeah.
And if it's talking about one specific thing, brilliant. If it's talking about loads of other different things, even better. But I do think, as you turn around and said, if you start talking on your own and it's just you, people are probably going to sit there and go, it's a bit boring now. So, yeah, I'd be more than welcome to come on. You let me know when and where, and I'll be there.
Yeah. I mean, the things. I mean, it's we've actually got the studio. So if you can make it down to the studio when this is, because obviously we can't do anything with COVID at the minute. But then you come in and you got your own mic and everything like that. We're having a purpose-built studio built in Rendlesham.
Yeah.
Because at the minute we're in a community centre, and then we're going to have our own actual studio with soundproofing and everything. So it's going to be a proper setup.
Yeah.
We like yourself, it's not free to run these things, but we're really well sponsored by Rendlesham Parish Council. They've put up a lot of money to help us keep going, and we thank them for it. It's absolutely brilliant. But we also need to buy tunes every week. It costs probably about £7 or £8 a show for the music that they have on the show, which again Rendlesham Parish Council are paying for. But eventually we'll be going out there and looking for patrons, as it is.
Yeah.
I think that's a new word now, isn't it?
Yeah,
patrons.
It is difficult, and it's like I feel bad sometimes. It's like when I do talk about like the Ko-fi account that I've got, I feel bad because it feels like I'm asking people for money for doing something that I enjoy doing, but it's more of a case of how to explain it. It's more of a case of I want to be able to improve what I'm doing. I want to be able to give people a better experience overall, and unfortunately it costs money to be able to do it. It's I don't have any sponsors. I don't have I've been lucky enough that someone has given some money. It's not been loads, but it's been enough to be able to pay for the doing the podcast, but everything else comes out of my own pocket, and everything else I do. And one thing I will turn around and say is, if people do want to help out and stuff like that, not just myself, but you've also got yourself, you've also got James and Adam, and Tatterstone, and whoever